Good evening. You're back on Studio Q and we're looking at the Lavender screen again. Alan Duncan here with you, and joining me tonight, Joe, our old friend. How are you going?
I'm good, Alan. How are you?
Not too bad at all. And being on the Lavender screen, we've had a chance recently to attend a very special cinematic premiere, and we have a very special guest with us tying into that premiere. But first of all, let's take a visit to the cinema and see what we found. Here we go. And we're here on a very special occasion, the reopening of Melbourne's iconic Westgarth Cinema. And in honour of that, we have a premiere screening, Anna Kokkinos' Book of Revelation. We're here for the red carpet. We're going to see who's going to tread up the red carpet, a few famous faces. We'll hopefully have a chat to some of them for you, show you a bit of the atmosphere of the night. So, in we go.
Why are you doing this? How long will you keep me here?
Silly, isn't it? When you love somebody, you have slip through your fingers.
Why me?
Because you're beautiful.
Tom, welcome to Studio Q. How's it going tonight?
Good, thanks, Alan. Yeah.
Do these red carpet events ever get a bit boring or blasé, or are they still exciting after all this time?
Oh, no, I think it's exciting, especially tonight, because they've done such a great job doing up the Westgarth, Palace have. Yeah, so it's just amazing. So it's really beautiful. There's not a cinema like it, really. So
we're blessed in Melbourne, aren't we, in that respect?
We are,
yeah. How long is it since you wrapped on Book of Revelation now?
Oh, it'll be a year ago now.
Really?
Yeah.
Was it the type of film that you were glad to get to the end of, or?
Absolutely, yeah. It was grueling. I mean, I had to dance, I had to be nude. It was challenging in so many ways.
Yeah. Harrowing emotionally, or?
Yes, yeah, because it's about abuse and the cycles of abuse. So it's not easy subject matter.
Indeed. I mean, are you the type of actor who can switch off, or is that possible at the end of the day and leave it behind, or is it?
I think I did a bit of both, actually. So yeah. So I think probably my better work's when I switched off, and then actually when you drag it, take it with you, it becomes all too much, yeah.
Do you actually, when you've played a character for that long, I mean, it must be over a period of months that the shoot goes for.
Yeah.
Do you miss that person in some way after it's finished?
I think with some. I think with this one, not so much. Yeah. It was so like a dark place, like that. To put it away was, felt healthy.
Being Ben TV, obviously we have a large queer audience. Do you think there's any particular entertainment or educational value that a queer audience would derive from this movie? Because it's not specifically queer, but do you think there's any particular appeal there?
I'm not sure, but maybe that, maybe there's value in that a man is disempowered somehow, so not that lends itself to particularly sort of a gay subject, but I suppose male abuse might be more common in a man-on-man situation.
Well, a lot more common than people realise.
Yeah, and then in my mind, than women on men.
Yeah.
So I think on that it might there might be some people within the gay community can relate to that. Yeah, I'm not sure, not being gay, so I'm speaking a bit out of my league. But I think there would be something definitely for people within the community. Yeah.
I think you've got something there. But Tom, thanks so much. I hope you enjoy the evening, and hope the film gets a lot of bums on seats for you. Okay. Thanks a lot. holding up the pillar of the Westgarth Cinema here with one of Ben TV's old friends, Val Lehman. Val, how are you?
I'm really well. How are you?
I'm not too bad. Having a good time?
Yes, great time.
So, what have you heard about tonight's flick, The Book of Revelation?
Some conflicting stuff and some very interesting stuff. I'm very keen to see it because I'm interested in the fact that, the Australian cinema seems to be venturing into a few different genres, which is, I think, a very healthy and a very good idea.
Definitely.
I love the Priscillas and the Strictly Ballroom and all that sort of thing, but the darker side is worth investigating, I think, and gives a lot. I think it gives the actors a lot more to play with.
Oh, yeah.
So they can come and strut their stuff. I mean, I just wish that some of the casting directors would give me a go at it.
I was going to say, we're having a bit of a renaissance in Australian cinema at the moment. Is there anything in the offing for you on the big screen?
Well, absolutely nothing so far that I know of. I did audition for something recently, but they're taking a long time to make up their minds, and they're screen testing everybody because there's so little work around. They can.
Well, no news is good news, as they say.
Oh,
so
they
you
say
never
that.
know.
They do.
You never know. Well, you certainly you've been to the dark side yourself, really, in the old prisoner, haven't you?
Oh, a bit. Hello.
Thank you, mister.
The most interesting thing's about to happen, though. All 692 episodes of Prisoner are being released on DVD.
That's what I was segueing to, actually.
Yeah.
How do you feel about that coming back to haunt you, every single second of it?
Well, I don't mind because I will actually make something out of it.
I knew you'd say that.
Allow me to introduce you to director Anna Kokkinos and lead actor Tom Long.
Quickly wanted to say a few words because I've never really had the opportunity to thank Anna for taking me on this journey, and I wouldn't have done it for anyone else, I don't think. And she was amazing to work with, and I really trust her, and I thank her for that. And I'd also like to thank Al Clark and Barbara Gibbs, because I broke my leg on this film, which gives another meaning to the saying. So,
I've got a very well-thumbed copy of Rupert Thompson's novel at home, and there's a small inscription inside it. Rupert, in October of 2000, wrote, "You're the one I've been looking for, Anna. I know you are. This book is going to be very happy in your hands. I can't wait to see it. I have the delicious sense that you're going to surprise me." These few words gave us the sustenance to take his very bold and very brilliant novel and embark on the making of the film that some said was unfilmable. And all the actors who worked on the film, we really thank you for your work and for your honesty, for your commitment and your friendship. But in particular, my heartfelt thanks goes to Tom Long. For without Tom, we would not have had a film. In many ways, I feel this is really Tom's film now. He has done all that a director can ever ask from an actor. He has done something quite extraordinary. It is very brave, and it is a very courageous performance. And I really think that after tonight, there should be a special celebration and a special drink for Tom. The Book of Revelation really tested us. Intriguing questions we grappled with in adapting the work turned into our own personal revelations. We were pushed and we were pulled, and we kept looking for precedents about how and what to do, only to realise again and again that we were charting new terrain, and ultimately there was only one thing we could do, and that was to continue to work with the idea of creating a film that was honest and true. It is a film that provokes, and it is a film that challenges. But it's also a film that allows you the space to find your own answers, your own responses to it. And as the filmmakers, we appreciate that each and every one of you will respond to it differently. But ultimately, I think that's what cinema is about, to make us think and to make us question, to take us to places we perhaps otherwise not dare to go to.
There you go. Book of Revelation, the new, not quite a blockbuster, but certainly a thinking man's film, freshly out here in Melbourne, and of course, Joining us is the director of same, Anna Kokkinos. Anna, welcome to you.
It's nice to be here.
Beautiful. Thanks so much. Pleased with the reception the other night at the Westgarth?
Oh yeah, it was fantastic. We had a ball.
We saw a few words from Tom there on the red carpet.
Yeah.
Bless his heart, what that man had to go through in that film. Being mauled over by 3 women, just not natural. He sort of indicated it was kind of a relief to get wrapped on the film finally. Is it a similar journey for you as a director? Is it emotionally draining in a way?
Sure. I mean, you know, it's interesting. I'd been living with it for a lot longer than Tom. I mean, through the writing process and then, you know, the financing of the film. But yeah, there's, you know, it's a really, there were so many complex things that we were trying to say in the film. And, you know, all the actors who got involved really had to go to some very kind of interesting places. So even as a director, as a person, as a human being, you've really got to set up a process that's safe for those actors, and within that, you know, there are personal revelations that that happened for me as well whilst we were making the film.
During the auditioning process, did you have any actors who, when they found out how full on the film was going to be, that withdrew, or that were kind of like, oh, hesitant
don't want to do this?
Yeah.
Yeah, some actors didn't want to go there, and that was fine. But all the actors who did, who read the script, and I think for them it was about saying, wow, this is completely unique. It's like something we've never done in this country before. No. And actually we want to be involved, and we want to make a commitment to telling this story.
Yeah.
And so, and I also had, you know, a very strong sense once we'd finished writing the script about who should be in it. So, you know, we went through a sort of a casting process that, and a screen test process, knowing that, you know, in amongst those people, you know, the right people would emerge for us. But the only character who I did write for was the character of Julie, played by Deborah Mailner.
Yeah.
And she was someone that I'd worked with on Secret Life of Us.
Yeah, that character was particularly important to you, wasn't it, in demonstrating part of Daniel's journey?
Absolutely. I mean, when Julie comes into the film, she's very much a person who, in some ways, responds to Daniel's pain. She is someone who gives Daniel an opportunity to open up again and to trust again. So the possibility of love, you know, blooms. The possibility of trust, and she plays a really pivotal role in him kind of recovering or finding a way of getting back to some kind of normality.
I read a review where it said that you were very keen to push beyond your own comfort zone. I'm assuming you've done that for yourself, but also for the actors. Can you tell us what sort of,
It's interesting because I remember when I read the novel, Rupert Thompson's novel, you know, on my first read, I mean, it's an incredible page turner and a very compelling novel, but I even found, you know, I was really challenged by the material as well. And I thought, wow, this is incredible. There's something really interesting in here for me. And so it's about kind of saying, this is going to take me somewhere new, somewhere I haven't been before. So that's really exciting. And that's what I mean about kind of even pushing oneself to explore terrain and material that is compelling, interesting, that really kind of pushes you even as a filmmaker. You know, it really it spoke to me on a cinematic level instantly.
Right.
And then when I read it a second time, I was really looking for an emotional connection to that main character. And once I'd found that, those two things came together, and so I thought, no, this is worth pursuing.
So was the emotional connection hard to find in that you had to read it a second time?
No, I think it was more. I found it an emotional roller coaster ride when I read it, but then I just needed to be sure. You know, it's almost like you go back and you read it and you think, oh no, I can see great depth in this. Something that I feel I can kind of get my teeth stuck into.
The main criticism I'd seen in the press of it was perhaps the sparse dialogue. One particular writer had said made that connection difficult. But I've got to say, it was during the dance sequence at the end, you know, just with him and Isabel, where that was the first time I really felt for him.
And but just on the, I mean, it's not a chatty film.
No.
It's a film that's very much about an interior journey, and I think that that's a very exciting thing to present to an audience, where it's the film language, the cinema language we're using is a little bit different, and therefore it's putting a slightly different demand on the audience.
I think a lot of the communication is through the dance and through the movement and through touch. Like when they're dancing with the girlfriend at the start, it's very kind of physical. Well, obviously dance is, but just.
It's a very tactile film, in fact, and a lot of the sound design and the music is actually designed to give us that other kind of connection to what's going on.
They do say, I have seen on record people saying, oh, Anna Kokkinos is one of the few directors in Australia who will handle and take on sexuality in films, if you like. Yeah. Is that really the case? I mean, are we still coy as a society, or is it the industry that's coy here in Australia to tackle such things?
Well, it's interesting. I think I heard Clark, my producer, saying that, the last time we saw a film that really dealt with sexuality was Head On, in fact, in this sort of way. And there does seem to be a kind of a hesitancy on the part of Australian filmmakers to explore sexuality on screen.
Do we know why this is?
I don't know. It seems to be a bit of a no-go zone for people. I actually think that I find the erotic really compelling. I find sex because not just sex, it's what's behind the sex. And in this film, because of the gender reversal and the power reversal, all kinds of interesting questions get thrown up about power in relation to sex. And the sex in the film has a reason to exist. It's not just gratuitous or filler. It's a very important part of what happens to Daniel.
Definitely.
I guess I seem to be unusual in that I don't fear that stuff. In fact, if anything, I think it's really kind of interesting. It's an interesting area to explore. After all, we all kind of do it, and it's really interesting to us. I find it really interesting.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's ironic. Sex is the most compelling thing, really, for people at the heart of it, but it's all shoved under the desk in porn.
Yeah, I think there's a coyness, almost a kind of, a level of kind of people being repressed about it a little bit. And but that's the beauty of a film like this, that you can go and see it and revel in that aspect of it as well, and kind of see it being explored in slightly different ways.
Yeah.
Do you see much difference in that coyness between getting a release in Australia with the feedback you've got in, say, the US?
Look, I remember with Head On, there was a lot of talk about that film and it's sort of what it was going to get classified and rated in the US. I think there is a general coyness worldwide. I mean, certainly the Americans kind of are very kind of toey about.
They lead the charge, don't they?
They get very toey about films that perhaps expose raw nerves. And I think that this film in particular, I've heard people say, oh, we've heard this film's really confronting, but I've just seen it, and it's actually not that confronting. A lot, I think, is suggested, and so I think it's almost like, why slap an R rating on it, because it's not that confronting. Because even when sex does happen in the film, there's a real kind of truthful reason for it. But look, I think we're also living in conservative times, and culturally and socially, we just seem to be a little bit nervous about things at the moment, when I don't think we need to be.
Well, surely the way to reduce confrontation is get it out there, make it public, get people talking.
Yeah, absolutely.
Do you think in general you have more freedom here in Australia to pursue that line? I mean, you haven't followed the trend and gone to the US. Do you think, in fact, maybe it's easier here, despite the conservative times, to focus on that?
It's interesting because I remember after we finished Head On, I had a lot of offers to go to the States, and I just had a really strong sense that if I stayed here and continued to do my work and continue to develop projects, that I'd probably have a better chance of making my next film here than in Hollywood. And so I just set about focusing on that. And there is a level of freedom that you get here that you don't necessarily get over there. I mean, it's a whole different industry over there.
In the studios, I guess you'd lose creative control.
Yeah, and that's the kind of that's you've got to understand. If as a filmmaker, if you're going to go over there, you're part of another machine.
Yeah.
Whereas here, because we have government funding, because there is a small but vibrant film community, there's always a chance that if you've got a really good project that people find compelling, you will find a way to get it made.
Yeah.
And essentially that's what I've done, you know. So I'm kind of the view that if you've got great projects and you've got a determination and a passion to make them, that somehow it'll happen.
Beautiful. Well, we hope it continues for you because they are indeed compelling. I mean, Head On, the main theme in Head On, apart from the sexuality, the cultural clash in a way, Greek versus Australian. Was that an issue for you growing up?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, I think all kids that have two cultures, whether it be Greek or Italian or Korean or I think there is a real tension when you're growing up between how to negotiate those two cultures. Particularly when we were growing up within the Greek community, it was a fairly socially conservative community. And for us kids, we really wanted to be skips, as we called them. We wanted to be part of the mainstream. And yet our parents kept kind of wanting us to remain faithful to our Greek traditions and our customs, and so there were a lot of kind of issues that the film touched on that I knew about, that I grew up with. So but it was broader than that too. It was also about a young man rebelling. I mean, we all know what it means to be young and kind of need to test ourselves out against the world. So that film, really explored a lot of those sorts of questions for people.
Book of Revelation, not specifically queer. Your last couple of films have been. Not queer per se.
No.
What particular appeal do you think it will have to the queer community in either, an educational or entertainment or whatever other sense?
Oh, look, I think it's going to really speak to the queer community because I think it also deals with sexuality in a completely brave and different way. But ultimately, it's a really great story. It's a very moving story. It's a very powerful story, and I think it's the kind of film where you really will debate it and kind of think about it and find some of your own answers to the questions that are raised in the film. So it's a film that you have to go and experience for yourself in a way. So in that sense, it's a high quality film that I think the community will respond to.
Definitely.
Have you had any feedback from anybody who has been sexually assaulted about their responses? Because I imagine for them it would be exceptionally confronting.
Look, you'd be amazed at how many people come up to me and quietly say, "Thank you for making this film," because I, both men and women who. For example, lots of women, I think, know this story. We know what it's like to be the object of the male gaze. We know what it's like to be acted upon or violated. And lots of women have come up to us and come up to me and said, thank you for kind of telling the story, albeit through a man, but they've powerfully connected to Daniel's journey. And you'd be amazed at how many men come up and tell me the same thing. And I think this film in particular for men gives them permission to talk about it, actually gives them permission to actually speak about it. And that's the power of cinema, that it enables men and women to kind of almost meet up and find common ground and offer things to each other.
One of the most powerful moments in the film for me was when Daniel went to the cops to tell his story and they laughed.
Yeah. I was interviewed by a guy recently. I was doing an internet interview, and he said, after we did the interview, he said, "Look, I'm a cop by day. It's my day job, and I just want to tell you," he said, "I know of a story where a taxi driver went into a cop station in St Kilda and said, 'I've just been raped by a woman,' and the cops said, 'Half your luck.'" They just laughed it off. So that's, there's something very important about the notion of men being able to speak about their pain. So many men are wedged into a certain kind of masculinity. It's all about being brave and strong. But what happens when a lot of men have feelings of being vulnerable and confused, or kind of feelings that are kind of not about being all of those kind of things that are imposed on them.
Well, they're roles that are canvassed a lot in the gay community, whether it be in play, but even Tom himself pinpointed that, you know, there's a lot of abuse in gay relationships where men don't really feel comfortable to speak about it, even in the gay context.
That's right. Yeah.
And hopefully that'll speak to them.
Yeah.
And I'm sure it will. Anna, it's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much for coming in, and I really hope the movie goes well around the country. It's off to Toronto soon, you said?
Yeah, I go to Toronto next week because the film's being screened as part of the festival there, and we're very excited about that. And,
fantastic.
You know, it's our sort of international premiere, so...
Great. Any more to follow after that?
Well, that's the first one, and then there'll be plenty more to come, I think. But,
fantastic. Yeah. Well, it's on general release as we speak, so you can catch it at your local cinema. Give it a look, it is well worth it. Thanks again, and hope after your next event you'll come and see us again.
Oh, it'd be lovely. Thank you. Thanks
so
for having me.
much.
Thank
Cheers.
You.